Hello there, people of the internet. My name is Oduor Jagero, and this is Dialogues with Jagero. Today, I am in the house with Mr. Nyamori. Nyamori, I like that name.
Why?
This one was not done yet. It's okay. All right. What? Your name is Joshua. Joshua
Yes,
Nyamori.
Joshua Oduor Nyamori.
I like the name Nyamori. What does it mean?
Nyamori is interestingly not a Luo name. I am Luo.
Yeah.
Yeah. The history of the name is that it is a Kisi name. I have tried to inquire.
Yeah.
And I'm told that Kano Plains, where my community lives, that is the Kano people, was originally inhabited by the Kisi.
Yeah.
So when the Kano people arrived from Karachuonyo, they displaced the Kisi community, but remnants of the Kisi remained. And so the remnants were intermarried with our people, and as such names were exchanged.
Yeah.
So we have that name surviving to date. But we also have remnants of clans, Kisi clans, amongst. My clan is purely Luo, but we have remnants of Kisi clans still amongst us. But now they recognize themselves as Kano people.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Odiambo. Odiambo, the guy born in the evening.
I was born in the evening. My mother told me I was born in the evening.
Yeah.
On a rainy evening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you a Christian?
I was born in a Christian family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your name comes from the word Joshua. Joshua 1. You know what Joshua 1 says? Joshua 1 says that he tells Moses that Moses, now that my servant Moses is dead,
Yeah.
I want you to take over the mantle and cross with these people over to the promised land.
Indeed.
That is what I remember about Joshua. But you have told me that you were a teacher before you became a lawyer.
Yes, I was first trained as a teacher.
Yeah.
Initially, even before training as a teacher, we took 2 years before joining university. And so during that period, I studied diploma in banking. So I almost became a banker. So when I joined university, I was admitted to study education, arts, economics, and business studies, which I studied for 4 years. Which was, that was not the plan. From childhood, my plan was to study law. And that's what I was focused on. But higher education, what was it called? It was called the body that then placed us, did place me to study education. Yeah. At that time, we had no option for private sponsorship. If you didn't get what you want, most likely that you'd end up studying what you were given.
Yeah.
Unless you went out of the country to study, which I couldn't afford at that time. Yes, so I studied education, economics and business studies, came out. I went back to study law after 13 years after graduating. Yeah.
What were you doing during the 13 years after graduation?
A number of things. I've touched a number of things that makes me a jack of all trades. I mean, I went back and studied fiscal design, that is budgeting with the World Bank Institute. Beyond that, I worked quite a lot with the NGOs and the civil society, majorly on governance and policy. Participated quite a lot in campaigns for free primary education, the EFA campaigns, Education for All. Participated quite a lot in campaigns for the new constitution, the push for the devolution, accountability generally, and fight against corruption. We had a network called Futamagendo Action Network. Youth activism. We helped form what was called the Nyanza Youth Coalition, which is a network of youth initiatives throughout Nyanza.
Yeah.
But even at the national level, we did form what we were calling the National Youth Forum, which is a forum of youth initiatives from across the country. So I was a very active young man there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go back to activism.
Yes.
But I want to, because you crossed over from being a teacher, you tried your hand on activism a little bit. I'm not sure whether you are still one.
Yeah.
But what we are discussing today is actually law.
Yeah.
And being a lawyer. I want to read for you some quotes here, and then we go back to activism.
Yes.
The law is not a cold machine of rules. It is the heartbeat of justice meant to protect the weak from the powerful and the truth from silence. The other quote that I like about law is that when the law ceases to be a sword for the oppressed and becomes a shield for the corrupt, it's no longer law. It's a tyranny in disguise. The third one that I really like is that true law is not written only in statutes and codes. It lives in the conscience of those bold enough to challenge injustice and demand fairness no matter the cost. Do you think that the reason why you left activism, for lack of a better word, quote unquote, you know, and go into studying law, did you want to make money, or did you want to even do better than what you're doing during the days that you say, as you say, you are a very active young man?
For me, law was not about making money. It was not about stature. Was not about the procedures. I've lived law all my life, and so this has just been a continuation of that life. I'm born in a lawyer's house. My father was a lawyer, and so I started admiring. He was my initial standard, and so I started admiring what he was doing. In terms of listening to his clients, in terms of drafting their pleas into pleadings, going to court, voicing their concerns, helping, get justice for the poor, the landless, those who are being alienated of their properties, and so on and so forth. Widows who are being evicted, children who needed to access education. I remember one thing that actually influenced me into student activism is that in 1991 I was a young messenger, even though I was still in secondary school during school holidays, when my father was representing student leaders who had been suspended and some expelled. So the sense of justice I started seeing in our house. I started seeing when I spent time as a young boy in my father's office. I started seeing in the village and in the neighborhoods as I saw the contradictions between what should and what is, especially when the poor and the disadvantaged were not able to access. So way back in secondary school, I was an activist. And, at some point, the students started calling me the student's advocate. Why? Because I was the only one who could stand up and call out the school administration. And not only call them out politically, I would sneak into my father's library and steal the Education Act, look at the provisions. And one day I carried it to school. Yeah. And as we were arguing with the head teacher, I unleashed it and was able to quote sections and tell them that, head teacher, I want to refer you to section this, subsection this, and this is what it says about corporal punishment. And that led to, reduction of flagrant abuse of children through corporal punishment. Yeah. So I went to, when I was not able to move directly to study law, when I went to university, I got into student leadership, which, you get to deal with a lot of legal issues and policy issues touching on fellow students, sit in students in university structures. I sat in the Senate, I sat in the University Council, Students' Disciplinary Committee, and so at that moment you started dealing with legal, policy, and procedural issues. When I got out, I was still, in policy activism. You definitely try to push for change of policies. So at some point, I thought that why not go back to my initial dream? It would help me pursue some of, the objectives that we are pursuing out there. Yeah, and so when you ask me why I went back to school to study law, it is that it was always this dream that was burning in me. That's one. But at the same time, I saw it as an opportunity to continue activism now in the court corridors. For instance, the whole day, as I was driving here, I was talking to one of the county officials that I took to court this morning over, disobedience of court orders, and he was now trying to negotiate with me. Just yesterday, I was in court, calling out the Kisumu County government for exorbitant land rates on poor landowners. Just last week I was before the court trying to advance the interest of the Nubian community, which is a minority community in Kisumu that was whose settlement was demolished, and so we have been able to protect their housing rights through. So it is a life that I live.
It's a life that you live.
Yes.
The question I want to, we are going to go shortly into, but I'm still setting the ground a little bit. The question of activism in this country. I want to ask you, do you think that it's on the right track? When you guys, some years ago, when you guys were in the activism world, because I remember Uhuru Kenyatta at some point was very unhappy with the community of activists and the NGO world. When Ruto came into power, he actually mentioned one of the people that he thought was funding some kind of anarchist behavior that was going on in the country. And we, just the other day, Boniface Mwangi, there was picture of his children going all over social media, that they are going to a very expensive school that for which he's paying about 700,000 per, I don't know whether it was per semester, for the kid. And so the activism world has been accused of being in bed with Western donors and people like that. Do you think that, I mean, they shouldn't be going hungry. They should not be sleeping in the streets. But where do you think we draw the line? Do you think that the government takes them for granted because they know who is funding them? What do you think is going on? Do you think there needs to be a change?
In Kenya, in my view, is that we have different kind of activists. We have activists who believe in certain causes and are pursuing those causes. And, they have fidelity to those causes. And they would do anything to get to those causes. Then we have activists who are in employment. And so they are employed by big NGOs, and part of their key performance indicators is how many demonstrations and they undertake every quarter, and how much they spend in those activities, and how many cases they take to court. And then with that category, we also have activists who then receive a lot of resources from especially the Western donors, whose agenda is then defined by the Western donors. Okay, I have been an activist, I think, all my life. As I told you, I started activism way back in secondary school. But I think even in primary school, I was this, round a square nut in a round hole. I was not fitting. I would always question if something was wrong. And I have done this all my life. Yes, I've been in programs that have been funded, but they have never defined my cause. In fact, I remember at some point I told one of the most liquid activists in this country, who has controlled the governance space for a very long time, when he told me that I had to choose between him and other friends of mine. And I told him that you're not going to choose my friends for me, just like I won't choose your friends for you. And that costed me funding. Okay? And so anybody who makes activism a a source of employment or a source of income is never a free activist. It's a tool being used by certain people, either locally or internationally, to push a certain agenda. A number of times, such agenda are never for the overall good of the country.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes aligned with the interests of the country. For instance, we received a lot of support when we were pushing for the constitutional review process. That helped us in mobilizing, organizing, doing civic education. But a number of times, the Western world push you towards theories and values and principles that we don't believe in. For instance, I am a student of human rights, but I don't believe in LGBTQ. But then when you receive money from donors whose agenda is to promote LGBTQ, you will have to transform everything that you're doing to support that. Yeah. I don't believe in that. So with regard to the current activism in Kenya compared to what we are, I think then we had people who really believed in what they wanted. Yes, we still had commercial activists, but we went out to pursue a national interest. And we were very clear about what we want, and we don't go beyond what we want. Okay, so in planning, I always tell young people when I meet with them, I take a lot of time to engage with Gen Zs, and I tell them that we took 3 months. I took a minimum of 3 months to organize a demo, and I did a lot of demos, and we had results out of it. When you go to Kisumu, there's a park called Taifa Park. That Taifa Park had been grabbed, and the trees cut, and somebody was supposed to be putting up a mall. But we mobilized the entire Kisumu into demonstrations, into protests, and into petitions, and also into economic boycott of the ultimate beneficiary of that parcel until they gave it up and the land was returned back to the municipal council, and we forced the government to put a caveat that it can never be transferred to any other entity without public participation. But for us to organize that, we had to look for leadership of various sectors, various neighborhoods, various groups, sit together, crystallize the issue and the objectives, and then go out and carry out mobilization. So we carried out mobilization at the neighborhood levels. We went and held meetings with the informal sector. We held meetings with unions in factories, so that by the time we went out to do public activities like demonstrations, we were not bringing in a mass that we do not know where they're coming from. We were coming in as organized groups, okay? And an organized group that you could control from the beginning of the demonstration to the end of the demonstration. Ensure that there is less conflict with the security forces. You ensure that they follow traffic rules. You also ensure that none of them turns violent, and that you are not infiltrated, that you have marshals that can ensure that any infiltration is then controlled, and you can arrest infiltrators and hand them over to the police, and still be able to put pressure to bear on the duty bearers to achieve your goals.
Yeah.
Yes.
And talking about, because that is very interesting what you're talking about when you're talking about demonstrations and trying to have the government listen to what the people are trying to say.
Yeah.
And we have seen, we have June 25th of last year, and then we had June 25th of this year, and then we had Sabasaba that happened yesterday. If you look at the way this thing has been run, I do not appear to see activists that are always known to lead demonstrations in it.
Yeah.
It appears that they are not either controlling it, they are plugging into it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
First of all, the question I want to ask is, what do you make of this? Having been an activist for such a long time, when you look at what is going on, are you having a wow factor that these guys know what they're doing? Or you're saying, okay, there is something here, but there is something also missing?
No, as an experienced hand, I mean, I spent over 25 years, almost 30 years in activism. And I can tell you that June 25th last year found me in the middle of the town.
Okay.
So I was able to follow what was happening from, I think that was 13th or 14th floor, and see what was happening along Koinange Street, Kenyatta Avenue, and so on and so forth. And that I could tell that we were in trouble. I have children who are Gen Zs, and I had to look for them when I saw what was building up even before June 25th on social media, and sit down with them and tell them that I am seeing trouble here. This will end in deaths, it will end in injuries, it will end in destruction of property, because there is no leader.
Okay.
You cannot lead active non-violence without a leader.
Okay.
There must be somebody taking responsibility. 2, that leader must be part of a structure. There must be a structure, so that you know that we want to undertake mass action, but this mass action, we want it to include students, so we must have student leaders. Okay. We want it to include hawkers, so we must have the leaders of the hawkers. We want it to include unionists, unionizable workers, so we must have unionists on board. And we want border, so we must look for the leadership of border. Agree with them, crystallize the idea, and then organize them, so that each and every leader will be coming with his people, and you can stand as the broad leadership, and tell people that we are going to go this direction. We will walk to Parliament to deliver a petition. Okay. Then after that, we will go to Uhuru Park to address the public. Then we will disperse. Okay. But you cannot call a procession or a demonstration by going on social media and saying that we will occupy Nairobi. We are going to occupy Parliament. Who are you? Okay. Have you taken steps to ensure that that thing is not going to turn chaotic? There should be certain responsibility that come with organizing demonstration, and that is why, if we go a little legal, if you go to the Constitution in Article 37 gives the right to demonstrate, to picket, to assemble, but then there are 2 keywords that Kenyans don't discuss. Kenyans actually sometimes say it's peaceful. That word peaceful is not in our constitution. Okay. The words in our constitution is peaceable and unarmed. Peaceful is the act of the fact that there's no violence and so on. But peaceable means that the preparation, the attitude, the conduct, and the actual activity should be able to draw confidence, build confidence among stakeholders, among participants and other stakeholders, including the government, that there is no likelihood that demo could turn violent. Okay. Either by, the people themselves who are involved turning violent, or by other third parties infiltrating or attacking, or by conflict between that group and another group that was also using the same thoroughfare. Okay, because you see, public roads belong to everybody. So when you are demonstrating, you should know that even the guy who is riding his bicycle or skating, or another guy who is driving his vehicle, has a right to that road. Okay. So you will have to reach a compromise that we are going to demonstrate from 10 to noon, and this is the path we will follow. Okay. So by 11 we will be done with Kenyatta Avenue. Okay. So that other motorists can be able to use it. And because we are a leadership that is organizing this, we will be able to control the people who are doing that. And this finds itself in theories. If you go back to the theories of people like Gandhi, people like Dr. Martin Luther King, who organized massive demos and mass actions, they first purified themselves in terms of what is the objectives. And then the fact that in attitude and in act, they would be non-violent. Okay. And in being non-violent, they would even accept to be arrested. Okay. They would accept to be stopped. They would not turn violent, even though, Martin Luther King says that the power of an active, non-violent activist is in the fact that he's capable of turning violent, but he has consciously decided to be non-violent. Okay. Gandhi would be arrested when he had masses around him, but he would submit to the authority. And go to jail. Okay. By the time Mandela was being arrested, he had the capacity to destabilize South Africa. But that would have probably not brought South Africa independence by 1994. He offered to go to jail for 27 years. So as an activist who is pushing for non-violent ways of doing things must accept to suffer and must train the people who follow him to be disciplined. And then that is when you can achieve. But when you have the kind of chaos we have in the country, that mothers of those who died on June 25th, 2024, give notice that we will be doing a procession to take petition to Parliament or to the office of the president. But then, the very, very day, these mothers have given notice to the police. But the very, very day, somebody else gives notice on social media that on that very day we are having lunch at State House. Okay. Another one says we are going to invade Parliament. Another one plans to invade police station. It's no longer.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because as somebody who has been in activism and has led demonstration for such a long time, and I imagine that there are for a demonstration to happen, there are so many moving limbs over demonstration. There are so many things happening. And then what if this is completely leaderless, then how do we have such a huge multitude ending up in the city?
My view is, circumstances have changed. Unlike previously, we would mobilize by going door to door, neighborhood to neighborhood, street to street, okay? And then getting leadership to mobilize their members. Right now, anybody with 50 shillings worth of bundles can announce that tomorrow we are occupying Jagero's office. Okay? And then with that, you come here in the morning and you find that you have 10,000 people outside waiting for you. Now, and that is where we have to develop new tools for new challenges. Okay? And new tools for new challenges is that if you look at the social media, there are certain voices that are listened to. Okay? So those voices have by default become the leaders. It is upon us to now build the capacity, identify these leaders and build their capacity and purify them so that they pursue the right objectives that protect national interest and that would ultimately lead to the benefit of the masses rather than destructions and deaths and injuries. Okay? And then we have to separate them from people who are out to cause chaos. And then mobilize and organize them. And I think we have an opportunity here as people who had been in activism all our lives to take up this challenge, look out these young leaders who are influential, try and train them in the ways we used to do things so that they could use those methods in the new environment, which is the virtual environment, which was not there at that time.
The teaching that you refer to is sometimes misinterpreted to mean that we are going to pick you, we are going to sit down with you and offer you a piece of cake or intimidate you. And therefore, they are saying, and that brings me to the question, why do you think as a lawyer, as an activist right now, as a father, why do you think they are always shouting the fact that we do not need a leader, we are leaderless? Because why are they saying this?
I want to believe that there were two from the Gen Z of 2024. The initial protest by young people was genuine, and they felt frustrated as young people. And I mean, we are facing a youth bulge with a huge unemployment. They do not see how politics is working for them, and the economy is working for them. So they are, justified to express discontent. But my view is that somebody saw that and decided to plant, discord. And then to define them. I would get into the X-Spaces last year to listen to what was happening there.
Okay.
Then you realize that this message that we are leaderless, we are partyless.
Okay.
If you speak for us, you are our enemy.
Yeah.
It was coming from certain moderators of those X-Spaces.
Okay.
The question is, who was behind these moderators? And you see, those X-Spaces would go on for 24 hours, and they'll just continue the following day and the following day. And then they would be pushing these young people towards a certain direction. Okay. Even as they tell them they're leaderless, but they were leading them towards a certain direction. For instance...
So the question is then, were they actually leaderless?
They were not leaderless. My view is that certain anarchists had, crafted a very well designed method to try and destabilize the country. Okay. Then they took advantage of the discontent among these young people. And I could read it because I have done a lot of study and around the world in some of these things that look like innocent revolutions but are actually externally instigated. I immediately mirrored it, and I told people, go to the internet and watch what is called Bringing Down a Dictator. It is a documentary on how the Serbian students thought that they were rising up against Slobodan Milosevic. And they would meet in the halls of residence and in cafes and in corridors of their lecture halls and plan how to, that was 2001, how to overthrow Slobodan Milosevic. But in reality, there was an external hand that was using a few of them. Okay, and so you see this. If you see this fist image that is used in resistance, they use it quite a lot. Black T-shirts with white fists. Yeah. It came from that, and the only difference between what we are doing here and what what Serbian students were instigated to do is that at that time they were using there was no internet. Okay, they didn't even have text messages. So they use graffitis and they use flyers and so on and so forth. But it was the same thing. It later came out that it was an American-funded protest. Okay, so in this one, it was very clear that somebody was using them. For me, I think everybody knows that the owner of the dog was later known. Yes, that somebody was pushing it to stabilize the politics of the country. Yeah. So that is one thing that I ask young people to be very careful about.
But do you think that somebody can push you towards an agenda that you don't know?
Yes, it is very possible. It is very, very possible. Even if you get to know about it, you get to know about it late. Okay. It is possible for political interests to tie their agenda, selfish agenda, to the ordinary issues that are affecting the masses. That is how insurrection is fermented. Yeah. You see, the reason why it is very difficult for systems and government and armies to be able to fight and succeed against an insurrection is that the people who plan insurrection actually tie their interest to the concerns of the ordinary people. Their values, their culture, their religion, their fashion, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that in this particular issue, the basic problems among young people is employment. They feel that the economy is not working for them. So if you want to destabilize Kenya government, you have to, tie your interest, political interest, to the interest of these mass young people who are unemployed, and tell them that you are unemployed because Jagero is always in that studio every day.
Yes.
So for us to get you employment, we must overthrow Jagero.
Yeah.
And then when somebody says that Jagero should go with his entire crew, they're told, no, it must be Jagero. Don't distract us. You see, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
If you remember, some people said, okay, let's plan to throw out the president and the entire government.
Yeah.
They would say, no, don't distract us. It must be Ruto must go.
Yeah.
It is Ruto must go. But how was Ruto going to sort out the employment problem in Kenya?
Yeah.
It really made no sense. Unfortunately for the masses have no time to critique. Anytime people become a mass, whether virtually or physically, even if you take 1,000 professors and you put them in one room and you tell them to think about something very simple, they will start behaving like people in a bus stop, ordinary people in a bus stop. Okay, so without organization, that is why even in big meetings, people are then broken down into breakaway meetings, so that you have smaller groups that can think through, and where everybody would have a chance to give his own ideas. Otherwise, it's just a shouting match. And these people know that a number of these young people have no space in which they are going to sit to discuss. For instance, I told certain young people when I heard that the president had agreed to join them at the Express, I told them, you have an opportunity of a lifetime. The president has agreed to spend time with you guys. I would suggest to you that this idea that you have no leader cannot work. Choose 5 people. Agree on certain specific 5 things that you want the president to tackle. Negotiate. Use that 3 hours to negotiate. What happened? Because they had been told that they are leaderless, they spent 3 hours the president insulting the president, disrespecting the president. And then immediately the president left. Certain interests who were not young then took advantage of that and looked for the president, that we can actually sort out this problem. So young people ended up losing in that respect. So that's why I want to call upon them that they must organize.
I think before we go to the IEBC issue, it is important. I think it is fair to ask you the question: how do they organize? Because it looks like it is very chaotic right now. How do they organize? Are you going to get Kasumwe Loure from the United States? Are you going to get the gentleman that was selling cars to come to Kenya? There is the boy that is leading university right now, are you going to get him? Hanifa, are you going to call him? I mean, what is the formula? Because I think that is perhaps what is so difficult to understand. What is the formula of bringing them?
In such situations as we find ourselves in, they are normally situational leaders.
Okay.
In 2004, June, Hanifa, Kasmuel, and that group were the leaders, were the situational
2024, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
They should have come together. They should have established a structure in which they would consult and chosen a leader amongst themselves, or a leader of equals, okay, who would then be their spokesman. They should have then formed a council through which they would debate, discuss, and agree on positions and the methods of pushing their positions, okay? I'm thinking that even now, there could be new leadership emerging. And I want to challenge young people that they have an opportunity. Certain people have to step out. As young people, we stepped out, okay? In 1997, there was something called the National Convention Assembly, organized by the NCC, that is Kivuta Kibwana, Gibson Makawa Okuria, Dr. Willy Mutunga, in Limuru, to discuss the constitutional review process as a convention. So we went there as young people, and everybody was talking about their interest. So but at tea break, we decided to pull ourselves together as young people and ask ourselves, what about youth agenda? Okay, in this thing. Out of that call, we pushed when we went back for you see, certain 10 points to be included in the resolution that came out of that place, to be the youth agenda in the constitutional review push. And that defined our youth activism for more than 15 to 20 years. You get my point? So young people must convene. But young people must look for those people who have walked their path. What they are doing is not different. I mean, we had walked that path. And there are many people who have walked that path. They must accept to be mentored. Yeah.
The government is at their wits' end on how to deal with this issue. Because all they could do was put wires on the road, Mr. Nyamori. What is going on?
And no. My view is that security of national installations is defined in law. Article 238 talks about national security. And then we have the National Police Service Act and other laws, the Public Order Act, and so on and so forth. So allowing what happened in 2024, June 25th, to happen again would be a terrible mistake. Parliament is, a symbol of our democracy. State House is not any other house. It is that once we have elected a leader, then he moves from his private residence to reside there, and that is where he hosts guests, he holds meetings. It is the symbol of our nationhood. Okay? So if we allow groups that today, me and you, decided that we are going to storm State House. So let's mobilize on social media. That would be wrong. So the security apparatus are within their mandate to try and protect those areas. We are dealing with a new phenomenon. Definitely, there's nobody with a script on what we are dealing with to date. Okay, because it's a new phenomenon in terms of the multitude of youth who have no employment, and then the fact that each and every one of them is digitally connected, and therefore they communicate on real time. And any inciter can simply incite on real time, and anybody in any part of the country can do anything they want. So definitely there'll be trials and errors and here, but those should be able to lead us into drafting new policies, drafting new laws, coming up with new youth empowerment programs, and coming up with the methods of ensuring that young people are mobilized and organized to feel included in programs. I'm thinking that this is a time when the government should probably review the national youth policy. When we were young, one of the things we pushed for was the national youth policy. Probably the national youth policy that was developed.
For people who don't know about it, could you explain what it is?
You see, we had a problem just like the Gen Z have a problem right now. We were a mass of young people who are unemployed, not as big as now, and we felt that our voice was not felt in politics, and we felt that systems are not working for us, but we felt that we were the majority. So then we started asking the question, how do we get involved? Then we realized that the policies and laws in the country were not youth-focused. And so we started from research. We realized that many countries have gone through the problems that we are going through. And one of the things is that they developed a framework. Policy is basically a framework and a roadmap on how to resolve those problems. So this roadmap was then codified into what was called national youth policy. So to develop the national youth policy, we were pushing and the government accepting that we need to develop a national youth policy. We then sat down and worked with them and crafted a way in which, the principles that would define everything the government did to ensure that it also worked for the people. It is through this that, percentages were set for young people. It is through this that, youth-oriented employments were then established. It is through this that, later the tenders, AGPO, and so on, were established. So, but you see, we developed this thing around 1999. It might be time for the country to sit down and look at the national youth policy and listen to these young people and ensure that a policy is developed that incorporates their interests, their views, and their ways of doing things. For instance, the question I still ask is that if we our largest population is young people, and we are advertising for tenders and advertising for jobs. Where are we advertising them? Are we advertising them in newspapers? Do these young people actually buy newspapers and read? They don't. Why are we not advertising them on TikTok? Okay, so a policy would then, guide the government that for any advert, put it also on TikTok. We should ask ourselves that, for instance, if these young people feel that they're not included and their issues are not in the boardrooms, do a survey on the communication officers in government. How old are they? You will find that probably they are my age mates, because government has not been employing for over the years. If they are my age mates, the question is, do I know what young people are discussing? Can I be able to communicate the idea on a boardroom? Is it possible to ask each and every ministry, department, and agency to prioritize recruitment of young communication officers who can understand what young people are speaking? Because, one of the problems that we have is a disconnect. We don't know what these young people are speaking on Xspace and TikTok and so on and so forth, and they do not know what we are discussing in the boardrooms to try and sort out their problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a national policy that is focused on integrating young people into the governance, into the economy, should be able to help us bridge this gap.
Let's talk about the IEBC issue. One of the things that I wanted you to do is to demystify it for us. What is going on with the court? What is going on with the president? What is going on with the names that were suggested?
Yeah, you remember what happened is that after the last election, we had a law that defined how IEBC commissioners should be identified and appointed. And you remember that the former IEBC basically collapsed after 3 of them, were kicked out. 2 resigned. 1 went through a tribunal and finally kicked out. And then the chairman retired. So we literally remained with no commissioners. And so, but Article 88 of the Constitution provides that elections shall be prepared and conducted by commissioners. There are very many stages in terms of voter registration, in terms of delineation of boundaries, in terms of nomination of candidates, registration of voters, actual conducting of the elections, declaration of results. So it's quite a lot of work that needs to be done. But the law provides that it is the commission doing it, and the commission has been interpreted by courts to be the commissioners, not the secretariat. So quite a number of things the secretariat is not able to do. Now, what then happened is that there was, at the point when Parliament moved to initiate the process for appointment of new commissioners, there was a divide. And you remember we were going through the Azimio Mandamanos. And so out of the negotiations that came out, it was agreed that a new law be established that would ensure that the choice of commissioners is inclusive and bipartisan. And so out of this, a framework was established through which a select committee, the committee to select the commission was put in place. You remember that process alone then went back to court. And there was a dispute over majorly the representative of Azimio, and there was a dispute between Kalonzo Musyoka's party and another party within Azimio. Finally, that was resolved after consuming quite a bit of time. Then once the committee went into work, advertised, selected, nominated candidates for appointment, the law that had been established then provided that those names would be sent to the president. I think there were 11 names, and out of the 11 names, the president would choose 9. And the president did that, and the law provides that the president should then send the names to parliament. The president did that. A newer dispute arose. There are those who felt that the president, rather than the selection committee sending the names to the president, they should have published it to Kenyans.
Yeah.
And then some thought that the
so what was in law? What should have happened?
The law is that what they did was the legal path.
Sending them to the president.
Sending them to the president.
I hope that you are enjoying that episode, people of the internet. You know, everybody says there is no job, and that is true. Also, that was me 10 years ago. The problem is that everybody is trying to get a job in their own town, in their own city, in their marketplace. They ask friends for jobs. Mothers call uncles, uncles call fathers, but there are no jobs, right? Let me tell you what no one is telling you. Jobs migrated online. What I actually mean is there are many, many jobs around the world, and there is no one to do them. I have worked for a long time online, I think more than 10 years. I work for Americans, I work for Europeans, I work for the Chinese, the Australian, Canadians, the Ugandans, name all of them. And last year, I had a eureka moment. I said to myself, you know what? I should compile what I have been doing for the last 15 years. So in 2024, I wrote a book called Gold Mine, 18 Side Hustles for Africans. And it sold a lot of copies. In fact, sometimes I was receiving 500 orders in a day. In 2025, something happened. AI came. I think in 2025, AI came. AI came in 2024, but in 2025, it is here with us. And people say AI is taking away their jobs. And for me, I'll say false. There are actually AI jobs. Na mimi ni nani? I created more jobs. We now have in my book 25 online and offline side hustles that you can do anywhere in the world, whether you are in the village, whether you are in your small town, whether you're in a marketplace, whether you are in your house, you can do them. In this powerful volume 2, I share 25 new actionable online hustles specifically researched and tailored for Africans. My new book provides clear step-by-step guidance, drawing from my extensive experience and research, including the mistakes I have made and lessons I have learned over 15 years in this online job market. You can become an executive assistant to busy folks in Europe, America, and Canada. You can also get paid for tasks like watching videos and taking online surveys. There are many of them, and they're in my book. You can also build a business as a virtual assistant, start an e-commerce without a shilling. You can also become an affiliate marketer or an online English tutor. And you can also do tens of AI jobs, and they're all in these books. If you have a job, that is fine, but I know around you there are so many people that are always looking for jobs and at home watching Netflix. Buy this book for your brother, for your sister, for your mother, cousin, husband, who is back at home all day, all night watching Netflix. Okay? Buy it for your friend, that friend who is always asking you for cash, you can buy this book for them. All the information is in the description below. You can also inbox me, you can WhatsApp me, or you can go to my website, which is oduorjagero.co.ke. The book is only 1,000 Kenya shillings. Or if you're anywhere around the world, the book is $10. So thank you very much. Back to programming.
The consultative process was in establishing this committee to select the candidates.
Okay.
And that selection was inclusive. And that is why various parties and civil society and professional bodies participated in selecting members of that committee.
Yes.
Okay. Then the process of interviews and vetting by that committee was supposed to be as transparent as possible. And I think they went through that. And then they sent it to Parliament, that's to the President. And then the President was to send it to Parliament.
Okay.
So that is what happened. So after that, there has been a new suit that was signed, that was filed, with orders obtained to stop Parliament from discussing. But later, Parliament was allowed by courts to discuss. But then the court then stopped gazettement. and so on and so forth. But then the dispute has arisen that the president then gazetted. Okay? So the question is...
What was the law at that juncture?
The law before
some
the
people
court...
are saying,
yeah.
Why was the president rushing?
Okay. The law required the president, immediately Parliament serves him with the vetted and approved names. The law requires, with no no discretion, that the president has to appoint them within 7 days. So then court put a conservatory order and said, do not appoint, do not gazette, do not swear in. Okay? So there are two schools of thought. There are those who feel that the president had a constitutional and legal mandate to do this.
Okay.
And so if he fails to do it, then he would be failing in his responsibility. There's the school of thought that says that even though he has that and he has no discretion, the court had stopped that. Okay, and I think the courts have had an opportunity to discuss that. Courts will still have an opportunity to discuss that. But then the matter went to court. There was a move to cite the president for contempt, but the court said that they cannot punish a sitting president for contempt, because contempt proceedings is more or less a criminal proceeding, and the law does not allow a sitting president to be tried for that. And so we are hoping that that issue in court would be resolved. My view as a lawyer, but also as somebody, I've also been in politics, and I've been in civil society. One part I didn't tell you that I ran for MP for Kisumu Town West in 2007. I was a student leader, so that makes me, partly having deviled in politics, makes me a politician. The problem we have is a political problem. It is not a legal problem. And if we apply legal tools to it, we will continue having a conflict in court, one after another.
But it is between parliament. It's in a triangle. We have the parliament, then we have the president, then we have the judiciary.
Yes.
So we are in this triangle.
The judiciary comes in when parliament and the politicians are not able to agree, or the executive is not able to agree with parliament, or executive there's a dispute.
It seems that parliament and Ruto agreed.
Yes.
Somebody somewhere out of this triangle
disagreed and went to court.
Yeah.
So my view is that the political leadership needs to converge, and the president has a chance in this case, like he has done before, to leave a legacy by reaching across the aisle and finding out who is it who has a dispute. How do we resolve this dispute? And I think President Ruto has demonstrated, not once, not twice, that he can do that. No one knew, for instance, that he could reach across the aisle to shake hands with the President, with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, especially after the 2002 elections and after the ODM andamanos. But he did that, and now they call themselves brothers. I normally compare what President William Ruto did to what Abraham Lincoln did during the war, and in which he reached out to his opponents to stabilize the American government so as to approach the war in unity. And then there they called it the team of rivals. I was very conscious of the fact when the president was announcing his broad-based cabinet, he said he had built an alliance of rivals. Okay, allowing anybody to come on board, irrespective of your political affiliations and what you thought about each other previously, to have unity in the interest of the nation, in national interest. So my appeal to the leadership of the country, when I talk about the leadership of the country, I'm talking about leadership across the board, is that we sue for unity of purpose, that if we do not solve the IEBC crisis, then we are going to have a legal and a political crisis in 2027. and the legal and political crisis that we are going to have is that the Constitution provides that the tenure of Parliament and of the various holders of office, that is from MCA all the way to President, is 5 years. Okay? Courts have interpreted that that period can be varied a little, in terms of days or weeks, but, you can't suspend it. Okay? Unless we have, the only way to suspend it is if we have a national emergency, state of emergency declared under Article 58. Okay? But we need not go there, because when we get to that stage, then we may not know how to get out of it. We need to have an IEBC at least 12 months before election. Yeah. Where it will take the political leadership sitting down with the other stakeholders, including religious leaders, and other groups, including the young people, to agree, to consult, to agree that if anybody has a dispute, what is the dispute?
But then, because then I feel like it's not for somebody who is still in court. Yeah. This is the group of individuals or the party that is giving us the crisis of 2027.
Yes.
So then what happens? Because I am not sure legally what should happen. The people that are in court, can they withdraw?
Yeah. I mean, our Constitution provides for alternative justice system. That whatever is, before you go to court, you can always go into mediation, into arbitration, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And so even a matter in court, the Constitution and the law still allows for the parties to consult, for mediation to go on. If you can agree out of court, then you come back to court and tell them that we have resolved the dispute. Okay, so it is legally allowed and is actually encouraged. It's actually encouraged by our judiciary, is encouraged by the Constitution, and the systems have been put in place for that.
So when somebody goes to court and says, okay, we have agreed with the, because I think that the two parties now is just the people that are in court and the gazettement.
Yes.
If they agree between the office of the president and the people in court, then the gazette notice stays.
No. The gazette notice is not an issue. The gazette notice can even be nullified and a new gazette notice put in place.
Okay.
The issue, what were the disputes? Okay? There are disputes they raised when the matter went to Parliament. So they can look at those issues. Are they issues that require annulling the process? Are they issues that can be resolved to allow the process to move forward? Okay. Are they issues that can be ignored and taken care of by the new commission when they come into office? Okay, so those are the discussions that need to be held, and even the people in court need to, open up their arms. The interest of the nation is bigger than, our individual or a group interests. Yeah. If we do not have a new IEBC soon, we are not going to be prepared for the 2027 elections. Yes. Previously the president would be accused of not wanting to have an IEBC. But,
because that is something that is written all over the internet.
Yes, but if you look at it now, somebody would argue that probably you might find that the action he took was ultra-vires his powers, especially in violation of the court order. But then he made the move to solve all the problem. Okay, which means he actually intends, and I believe that is his intention. I believe that every right-thinking Kenyan, including leaders, would want a new constitution in place. Yeah, so we need to isolate those who would want to put roadblocks in the system by converging all those who would want systems to be built. As a country, we must sue for building of systems. We cannot build systems and break them down. We build them and break them down. We also need to settle on systems that stay. For instance, the law provides that those commissioners will stay in office for 6 years. We must allow them to stay in office for 6 years unless there's a misconduct. That requires then that they be removed.
The lawyer, the advocate of the High Court of Kenya, Mr. Kefa Ojijo,
Yes.
Went to the Law Society of Kenya and said that he believes that the code of conduct of the deputy president, Kithure Kindiki, and that of Murkomen, they should not be in the roster. They should not be
the role of advocate. Yeah.
As a lawyer and as somebody who is listening to other lawyers, first of all, I want to ask you your opinion. Do you think that was necessary?
I think I have looked at, Ojijo's petition.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a political move.
Was it?
I think it was just a political move to make a political statement because it has no, what he wants to do has no legal effect, even if it succeeds. You see, discipline of advocates who are in the role of advocates is defined in law in the Advocates Act.
Okay.
And section 58 to 60 of the Advocates Act then provide the procedure that is followed when you want an advocate disciplined. An advocate can be disciplined by being admonished, by being fined, by being, suspended from the role of advocate, or by being struck out completely from the role of advocates. And for this to happen, you must initiate the complaint by filing the complaint with the Advocates Complaints Commission. Okay? The office is at the Supreme Court. When you file a complaint with the Advocates Complaint Commission, the complaint must be accompanied by an affidavit in which you swear the truth to the facts that you depend to. And once the commission looks at it and finds that there are credible grounds worth calling upon the advocate to answer to, then the Complaints Commission will then refer the matter to the Advocates Disciplinary Tribunal, which is a tribunal in law. The tribunal is chaired by the AG or the Solicitor General, and it has, I think 3 senior advocates. And that tribunal would then give the advocate 7 days to respond. Then they would sit, listen to both sides, and then on the basis of written and oral submissions, be able and look at the evidence that has been proffered, make a determination. So that determination would be to dismiss the matter, to warn, or to fine, or to suspend, or to strike out from the role of advocates. Okay. Now, Ojijo has written to the Law Society of Kenya asking for convening of a special general meeting. The special general meeting of members has no role in disciplining advocates. All that he can do is that probably pass a resolution of censure, say that we are censoring Jagero for 1, 2, 3. But that would just be a political statement. It is not the first time such a censure has happened. It has happened here before. So at the same time, it is a political forum. I think you have seen LSK, sometimes so chaotic, LSK special general meetings. Like I told you, just like the masses that I talked about.
Yeah.
Even as lawyers, people think we are the learned ones. But even as lawyers, whenever you take a mass of lawyers and put in one room, we just behave like kids. It's very normal, unless the leadership of that meeting properly organizes and conducts that meeting. So I don't see where it will go, but be it as it may.
He does not know that he should have started with the latter. Yeah. What you going to the Solicitor General? You didn't know?
I can't tell. I don't know Jijo in person, but I have not interacted with him. But I just speak to what the law says. That's what section 58...
Because what is interesting is that he went the other way instead of going the other way.
Exactly. I'm only speaking about what section 58 to section 60 of the Advocates Act provides. Okay? And you see, probably what he wanted was to make a political statement.
But he's not a politician.
Then I wonder. You know, sometimes as advocates, you must also know that sometimes we carry the voices of our clients. Probably as a client who has opted not to be named.
Okay.
And the client would want probably to smear the name of Professor Kindiki and Murkomen, or as a beef to, pick with them. But I wonder if, as an advocate, he has a duty, even if he has a client, to advise his client. That is a wrong route. It won't get anywhere. Okay. But then it still also raises the question that as a LLSK, we need to ask ourselves when such, even if that was a forum, then are we credible enough as a general meeting to be able to give a non-partisan and a credible decision? I mean, in the general meeting, we have Azimio, we have Kenya Kwanza, we have, those who support broad-based and those who oppose broad-based. We have advocates who believe in ethnicity and advocates who champion religious interests. How would somebody get fairness in that forum? I don't see. Yeah, I don't see. Okay.
That is interesting. But do you think that Kindiki has broken that code of conduct?
Again, I would want to see. In our field, we only deal with facts, evidence, and law. So law, I've told you the procedure is wrong. But if the procedure was right, and probably they went to the advocates, the complaints commission, and then landed in the advocates disciplinary committee, the question would be, what has been the misconduct? Professor Kindiki has been the CS before he became the deputy president for internal security. And then Murkomen, Honorable Murkomen, is also the CS for the current CS. So their leadership in those positions is with regard to policy. So if police then, went beyond their powers or abused their office, is the minister or the CS guilty of that? Is it a policy matter or is it an operational matter? Who should you have called out? Was it the CS or the IG? If then probably he's calling out the CS for what has become the controversial discussion about
the shoot-to-kill order.
Yeah, and I keep telling people that I have watched that clip again and again. The CS did not say shoot-to-kill. I maintain that probably the communication should have been clearer, but the CS, what he communicated, is that the police have guns that have been supplied to them using our taxes. And those guns have been supplied for a certain purpose. They're supposed to use them to protect national security. They're supposed to use them to protect property and to protect lives, but also to protect themselves. And they're also supposed to use them to protect government and security installations, including police stations. That is in law, okay? That is not politics. And so if you go to Article 238, it provides for national security and provides all that. Then you go to the Police Service Act that then provides that the police may use force, including lethal force. But such use of force, including lethal force, must be reasonable and justifiable. Okay? So that the question that arises when police use force, for instance, the policeman who pressed a gun on the face of this young man, Karaoke, and shot, even if it was rubber bullets, that ultimately ended up in the death of this young person after several weeks, cannot be justified. The death of Albert cannot be justified. And so there are procedures for then undertaking, making sure that there's accountability and that they are taken through the justice system. If found guilty, then go to jail.
Yeah.
Okay. But the question is, one principle that then a number of people have then raised is the principle of command responsibility. That if your juniors do something, then a senior can be held to have command responsibility and can therefore be charged with criminal offenses and can take political responsibility. But then that principle is defined. It just doesn't happen that if somebody in this studio messed up, then Jagero has to go to jail. It is in the security sector. It must have been that particular officer was directly concerned, in charge, and in control of those officers, knew of what they were doing, and knew that what they were doing was against the law, but either encouraged it or negligently let that happen without taking action. I doubt that they can succeed in finding Professor Kindiki and C.S. Murkomen guilty of that. So I think it will fall flat. I think it's just politics.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua. It was really, really nice having you in the studio.
Thank you.
I really loved the explanation, especially the first part of our conversation when we were talking about activism and how it goes on from what we have, and then talking about the Gen Z and how they should get themselves a structure on how to go to the streets. I wonder when next they are planning to go to the streets, but I also think that the government ought to now come out and figure out that how are we going to deal with this issue going forward. You know, that is that I think
it's a challenge. I don't think it's only the government. It is a national challenge. My belief is that as parents, we should deal with this in our houses. You know, sometimes we talk about Gen Z thinking that they are out there.
Yeah.
In reality, these Gen Z live in our houses. They leave our houses as they go to the streets, they come back here. Sometimes we thinking that we are encouraging the children of another person. We are encouraging our children.
Yeah.
Then the other thing is that these children go to school. So they have their teachers, they have their lecturers. It is their responsibility to help in bringing up these kids. Then these kids also go to church and go to the mosques. So the religious leaders need to come together. My view is that as the leadership of the country, irrespective of where you lead, for instance, in this studio, I've seen many young people. I'm hoping that once in a while, you spend time with them, away from the studio. That let's just talk. What are your issues?
Yeah.
I told you that during the Gen Z, the 2024 Mandamano, actually traveled from Kisumu to Nairobi and called my two Gen Z at the university to sit down with them and ask them, what do you think about this? They are very strong issues. But after having a long discussion with them, their views changed. So we must listen to them, but we have a responsibility to guide them. Yeah.
Thank you very much, people of the internet. That was Joshua Nyamori talking to us about activism, politics, law, and IEBC. So thank you very much. Until another episode, bye for now.